Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. So to begin, my name is Barrett Weimers, and I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Zerion Software. Today our presenter is Ben Ray. Ben Ray is a Software Product Manager here at Zerion Software. He's been a part of the Zerion family for over 6 years, and he definitely knows the softwares in and outs. For today, our topics include how our development cycle works, how to create a better experience with the new 2019 features, and looking ahead. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand over the mic to Ben. I'm really excited for today's topic, and I hope all of you are as well.
Thanks so much, Barrett. Welcome everyone. Really excited to be back here and sharing, what we've done here in 2019 and some of what's to come in the future. But before I begin, I wanted to talk about our development cycle in a little bit of detail, just so everyone can kind of understand how things work over here at Zerion Software. So you may have seen a graphic like this in the past, either from us or from a variety of our companies. We follow an agile development methodology that basically allows us to be very flexible. Instead of building and getting all the requirements up front, we actually build throughout our process to give folks the best experience possible. So we do operate in a 1-month sprint cycle typically. So we're going to be pretty much planning and researching what all we want to do in our next 1 to 2 months, then plan all that, and then we'll work on developing those features and functionality. And then before we release, we typically have a pretty rigorous testing schedule that we follow. And then we actually added in a beta program as well, specifically for the iOS and Android platforms, so folks can get new access to these features before they're fully available, and then and also debug and make sure everything's working correctly. So I'm going to go over that in a little bit more detail here. And then this cycle repeats over and over again, and that's kind of why you'll see continuous releases going out pretty much every month on our website, on our iForm server, on our mobile apps as well. So you'll kind of continue to see that throughout the way, and we do incorporate a good bit of community feature requests into these, and that is why we operate in these short sprints, so we can accommodate those requests. So I wanted to hop into some of the big things that our team has been working on here this year. We've been hard at work on the form builder, the mobile apps, web forms, and some items on the admin portal as well. And the first piece I wanted to go into is when you are building forms, you are going to see some updated user interface screens here. So this is something that came as we wanted to do a kind of a refresher to part of the form builder here. And previously we had everything on one screen. We didn't split it up into a basic and advanced section. You would have saw this probably a couple months back now. So if you have used the form builder since then, you would see this. But basically we want to allow folks who are just building a basic form and don't need any advanced properties, all the details that they need to build their form. So they go in, they enter a form label and a description, and actually something new we added is the ability to upload your own form icon. So before, actually specifying form icons was a bit of a challenge because folks had to go ahead and set up a Dropbox account or something along those lines, and then work with that file. Now you can simply go down here and upload your icons. So if you haven't done that yet, give it a shot. Any icons you upload will be available for the entire profile. So these 5 icons will be available in any form I want to use throughout that profile, or I can upload more icons. So we're really excited to introduce this. And then inside the advanced section, it's going to look fairly similar to before, at least this bottom part is, where you set up any media assets you want to use here, and your different reference IDs. Now the big change that we've actually introduced here is page dynamic attributes. So that may sound a little confusing, but really what that is it's a custom configuration that you can set up inside of each specific form that you want. So we actually unveiled 4 custom configurations here under our page attributes that can be enabled or turned on and off based on a per form basis. So this will really allow for a lot of customization, we feel, inside of the form level. The 4 we've done so far are update, assigned, or completed records, and I'll go through a demonstration of that here in just a minute. We've also specified what map priority you want to utilize. So currently, if you look at the mobile app, it's going to plot the points based upon your created location or your modified location. But you can actually specify and say, let's always plot the points based upon my created location, or always plot them based upon a different location, like maybe a location element on your form. So all those are certainly possible now. And then we did introduce a new UI for the mobile apps in our record view screen, and you can enable or disable the delete button on there. So that's something before that any user could delete records for a form inside of that record view, but now that is a configurable option. So I'll show kind of how some of this works here in just a bit. So I wanted to talk through this scenario. If any folks use any sort of dispatching or sort of work order management tasks, you may be pretty familiar with this and some of the pitfalls it has today. This dynamic attribute update assigned or completed records is a first attempt to solve some of those pitfalls. So in this flow, you have individuals in the admin or in the field office who are actually dispatching work out. So it goes from the admin office, they assign the record out to the device here, and that device gets that record. When the device gets the record, they can work on it and make any changes they want to the record and then upload it to the office there. But let's say before they upload this record, before they even start on the record, there's some changes that happened at the office. Maybe your task is at a different location, and currently there's no way to communicate that change down besides either calling or messaging them outside of the iForm application. So what we actually did, I'm going to hop over to my device here. What we actually allow for now is if you have a record that's already downloaded, so right here you're going to see I have a record. It says clean just the bottom floor here. So what we can actually do, let's say we want to change this detail to say maybe we're only cleaning the top floor of this building now instead of the bottom floor. So we'll go over into our admin portal here where you would traditionally assign that record out. And what they're actually going to do is you could actually go ahead and change this, and you could say clean the top floor. And since you made a change to that record, the device still does not know about this change. So what we would have to do at this point is assign out this record. So before, without this attribute enabled, when you assign out the record, it would never, never download those changes. But now with this change, it'll actually download those changes. So I just assigned the record back to myself. As I sync this record, it's going to download the record, and it's actually going to overwrite the details here. So you're going to see it changed from clean only the bottom floor to clean the top floor now. So this just alleviated a lot of back and forth that could have happened if the individual went to that site, they worked on the bottom floor when really they were supposed to clean the top floor. That could certainly be an issue, and you have to come back for a revisit. So this only works right now when the record is in the assigned state or the check mark state, their completed state. So we are still working through how we want to handle the draft or ready for upload states, as the user already completed some work and we don't want to override that work. So I know this might have been a bit confusing. If anyone does want to chat later on, we can certainly do that after a call or something to discuss this workflow. Are there any questions on this, Barrett?
Hi, yes, Ben, one actually just came in. The question is actually that does the user still have to manually sync the device for this to work?
Yes, they would, right? So they'll receive a notification and then they can sync the device and it would download that. So yes, they would there.
So not so much about this, but there's another question about the dynamic attributes. The individual is asking if the new dynamic attributes are if they're applicable to all the existing forms.
Yes, by default, they're going to be, no attributes will be applied. Again, these are dynamic, so this is optional. This is something you can choose to do or not. So by default, they will all be disabled. But if you go into the form builder and the advanced properties of a form, you'll see these 4 attributes here listed, and you can choose these and configure these and test them out.
Perfect. Thanks, Ben. That's it for now.
All right, great. We'll keep moving on here. So I wanted to move into some other features and actually a new element that we've added. You may all have heard of so far, but before we hop into that, I wanted to talk about some of the updates we've made to our Smart Table Search. So Smart Table Search is a feature we introduced a good while back now, but we have seen that it does need some work. So we did work on it here this year, and we did a couple key things that we believe are going to be pretty useful for some folks. So first and foremost, we have added some new data types that we're able to return. So we can actually look up images now. We can look up drawings, multi-select elements, as well as email addresses. These are 4 things that were not able to work before, and now they are today. So in this example on the right-hand side, you'll see that I chose an infraction and actually looked up a photo of this. This is just a small photo of a broken mailbox. But you can kind of see how this could apply to other scenarios. Let's say you're in the NGO space and you're checking in or checking out people. You can actually pull up a photo of their face to make sure that it's that person, or a photo of the site you were at, or any of those details. So you can kind of start to envision what all scenarios can happen with that. And then we've also allowed the Smart Table Search element to be auto selected. So it's basically what we did on pick list earlier, where you open up a pick list and you select an option. It'll automatically close that element instead of letting you have to hit a check mark. So it should save time in the field as folks are going ahead and filling these out. And then we have fixed a variety of different bugs on Smart Table Search. You may have seen, if you follow release notes, you'll be able to see that there. And as we started working on this, we actually started realizing that maybe the current Smart Table Search in the form that it is not enough. Meaning that right now it's basically just one list of items that you see in a drop down, and folks actually wanted to be able to see more items. So we've actually introduced a new element called the Lookup Element. Now what this Lookup Element does is it allows you, this is actually the configuration screen here, but allows you to see a table of information inside of the form, similar to how your record views look today. So instead of just one drop down of information, maybe a list of IDs or a list of sites, you can actually display a table in there, which I'm going to go to here shortly. And with that, we've actually added a bunch of other attributes that are accessible here. So we've added the way to filter this lookup list. So let's say based on the region that you're at, you want to show a different set of sites. That is possible. You can even sort this drop-down list now, or this table, based upon a variety of columns. Maybe saying you want to, in this example, we want to see everyone's salary greater than 3,000 or 30,000, and then sort ascending. So those are types of things that are possible there as well. So I'm going to show this in a little more detail here. This is just the configuration screen. I'll demo it here in just a bit. Do we have any questions here so far before I move on?
Hi, Ben. There was a question about seeing the Smart Table Search updates. Do you think you'll be going through that in the later demo?
Yeah, I'll be showing how we look up an image element there. So we'll go over that, and we can I can share some more examples after the call if there's still more interest.
Sure. Thank you, Ben. That's it for now.
Okay. So we did add. So these are actually dynamic attributes as well, right? So I talked about we added page level dynamic attributes. We've also added element level dynamic attributes. So again, you don't have to use these with the lookup element. I chose to because it makes it much more powerful. But we've also added these for 3 different element types so far. So we've added for our time and our date time elements. And we've actually set this up so you can specify, do you want to view a 12 or 24-hour time when you're capturing this information here. So that's just going to be for the view, but we had some requirements from some folks. They wanted to say in the daytime element, always show it as 24-hour time, or always show it as 12-hour time. So that's something that again is optional, but can be configured as well. And then for lookup, I showed what those are there earlier, but you're going to start seeing this for more and more elements that pop up along the way as we're able to put special configurations there. We actually just had a request the other day on the image element to use dynamic attributes as well, to say, do you want to draw over it or not, to put a little more customization in there. So just one more piece I wanted to go over before we hop into a demo here. So on the form builder side of things, we did two core pieces here you may or may not have used so far. So one of these is actually the ability to see dependencies for forms as well as option lists. So this is really going to help folks as well, form builders mostly, as they're building out forms, to see, if I make a change to this option list, where is it going to affect? So in this screenshot on the right-hand side, you're going to see that you can actually see that this option list here, pass fail, is used on 7 different questions here. So if I change this to say pass fail and add another option, maybe NA, it'll affect everywhere that is used. This also happens for forms as well. So let's say it's a subform, a photo subform, for example, that you may use across a number of places. When you use that, it's going to, if you open up the dependency, it's going to show you where all that is used at. So definitely something that wasn't possible before, but now it lets you have visibility into there to make sure you're not not making changes to those forms. And then we also added a way to upload option lists via CSV, but this one actually includes localization. So this will be helpful for all you folks who are using multiple languages in your forms. So before, what you had to do was basically upload the option list and then go into localization for each language you wanted to localize, and work through that manually. Now we've actually added a column in the CSV upload functionality to specify what language you want to upload for. So you could simply upload one file that has all languages in it, and it'll work in a much faster way there. And then we have just a couple more items we wanted to look at here that we worked on the mobile side of things. So one of these items was we added a new user experience or new user interface here. So you're actually going to see, if you downloaded the iOS or Android apps lately, you're going to see that there's a new table view inside of here. We've actually moved the plus button down to the bottom to utilize some more space down there. And then we also introduced a way to delete things in bulk. So this is what I was talking about. You can actually disable that delete button. I was showing that in an earlier slide. So this we believe is going to make folks be able to manage their forms a little easier, at least the records you're working on your device side, and just give this a refresh. It's been a long time since we really refreshed this screen at all. We've added a couple in-app API settings. So one of those is post-processing records. So let's say you have an integration endpoint set up on the back end, and you actually submit that. We'll actually fire that integration endpoint when you submit the record there. So we've added a couple API settings. I'll go through them here quickly in the settings screen. And then we also added the ability to set up a custom sync threshold. So this actually came from a customer request where they actually they had issues basically when people were in poor connectivity and trying to upload records. They'd be syncing for a very long time and couldn't continue doing their work. So there's actually a way in company info that you can set it up so if the sync takes more than a couple seconds or a certain threshold, you can have it stop the sync. And that way you'll wait. It'll basically prompt you to wait till you get to a better connected zone, and then you can sync those records up. So again, that may come in handy for specific scenarios where folks are getting tied up if they are syncing in poor connected environments.
Hi, Ben. Before you go any further, there was a question about the CSV uploads. So one of the questions was, with the CSV upload, can you go in and can you edit it and then have it replace the value, or do you just have to have it where it adds new values at the bottom?
Yeah, so you can go in and actually download the existing option list, right? So it'll download that option list in CSV. You can make modifications to it, and then there's actually a toggle checkbox here that will allow you to say, do you want to replace options or just add them new to the bottom here? So I can hop over into the option list and show where that's at there. but you could just simply download it here. This is the upload spot, but you would click this and it would actually download your file as CSV here. Then you could make modifications and and re-upload that. And when you upload that, if you want to upload or empty the options and put new ones in, you just simply check here. If you want to add them to the bottom, you would just keep this option deselected. So there's some good examples here to utilize, but yeah, definitely check that out and give that a try. That's under Form Builder and the option lists.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben.
Yep, no problem. So we did add a variety of new built-in functions here. I'm not going to read through all of them, but the main reason we've added these are mostly for for helping some of the things on the back-end integration side. So if you've been working with our CS team or working with any integrations on our software, you may want to send more information over to that third-party system. Let's say it's Zapier, let's say it's our data flow product. You may want to send the server name or the profile ID over, so you can basically figure out where this data is coming from, especially on more global projects that may be using shared forms or things like that. These are very, very helpful to include in all of your forms. So our CS team has been doing this a lot, and we definitely encourage folks to add one or more of these into most of your forms to know really more details about that form. And then we also added a couple more built-in functions about our location element. So previously our location element was not able to be automatically populated when you open the form or based upon some sort of JavaScript. So what we actually did was put in some built-in functions that can be called at any time to look up that location data, or say pull me that location data. So here's the list of them all. One of the use cases that this was really built for is folks wanted to actually capture the date, time, and all the details of where they're at whenever they were doing a certain action, right? So let's say in this example on the right, they're picking up and dropping off. When they drop off, when they sign it to say this was dropped off, they actually want to record the location at that time. The location is going to be different. Maybe you started the record when you were halfway through here, which logs the location here, but then when you got to your location, you sign off, and then we log the location there as well. So this will give folks some better tracking of of where people were and what time they were when they're doing certain things. Whether you want to audit employees or whether you just want to know this for your details. You can use a variety of these functions or this last one to put everything into one big text field or location element. So are there any questions that we have, Barrett?
So there is a question. There was a question about the location built-in function. So the individual's question is, does the location.string pull the same as if you were to use like a get full address function in the page level JavaScript, or does it differ with the results?
So the iFormBuilder.location.string pulls what you're going to see in the location element. It does not pull what is in the, and I'm actually going to the demo here now, so I can just kind of pull that up. So let me just see. So it's actually going to pull all the same stuff in here. Now the function that you're talking about, that this individual is talking about, is a custom page level function that lets you get street addresses and things. That's not something we support directly in this element. You have to write an additional function for that. So this is the details it would provide here. It can be put into a text area field or into a location element field.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ben. There's another question about the street or the location information. This individual is asking if it will use the street distance, or, as they say, only as the crow flies distance from point to point. This individual is looking to use this to map fire hydrants and is trying to get the distance between those 2 points.
Yeah, definitely. So this, I guess, would not be the exact scenario you'd want to use it for. I mean, you may use the location.string function to help make that possible. But yeah, that would have to be some sort of page level JavaScript function where you compare distance to distance. So that would be more of a custom, custom thing that's set up. certainly would recommend to reach out if you're working with anyone on our team, reach out to them and let's discuss this in more detail. I think that'd be a great use case to map out.
Okay, and then Ben, I know you wanted to go through some additional information and then or go through your demo, but there is just one more question about the lookup element. This individual is wondering if there's a limit on the record numbers for the lookup element itself.
The number of records you can have, no, there is no limit like most things that we do. We don't have a limit in number of forms, but we really encourage you to go ahead and test this. Like, let's say you're going to put 50,000 there, 50,000 rows in there. You do want to go ahead and test it and make sure it's going to work on your your worst quality device, right? And out of all your devices that are deployed, you want to make sure it works on the slowest device. If it doesn't work there, then not everyone can go ahead and use that functionality. So I'm going to kind of go through that here, lookup element in a little bit of detail, right now actually. So first, I just wanted to start with going over some of the settings and things that we've added. So I'm going to hop over into our settings screen here, and if you go down under Advanced, this is where you're going to see those two new settings that we've set up. So the sync threshold here, if this is on, it's going to use whatever is set up in company info. And let's say you try to sync and you have really poor connection. I don't right now, so it won't happen for me. But it'll tell me, connection timeout, and you need to wait till you're in better connection to sync there. And then here's our API settings. These are off by default, but these will slowly be getting turned on as we move to the better way of syncing and uploading data. That can be turned on here. So if you have more questions about that, let's certainly certainly discuss here at a later time. But I did want to show some of the other stuff I went over. So as I'm going into here, you're going to see our new user interface. So you're actually going to see that we move the plus button down here to the middle. We have our new delete button and our map button here. So this is stuff that you may not have seen before. If you actually start selecting, one or many records here, and you hit delete, it's actually going to let you delete these. So I'm just going to go through this flow and just delete 2 or 3 records here. You do have to confirm, obviously, to delete these entries, and those ones will be gone as well. The other dynamic attribute, page dynamic attribute I was talking about was the map priority. So how this works is, if you go to the map, we're actually going to have, you're going to see I have 2 points here, right? One down in DC where I'm at, and then another one up here in southern Pennsylvania. Now, if you actually hit this button down here, it's actually going to let you see how your location priority is set up. So in this case, I've actually set it up to say, show me my location element on the form always. If you don't have anything set up, it follows a default structure. But in this case, I always want to show it where my location element is plotted. I can always, rearrange and drag these around, and it'll move the location because I created them both in DC with the created location there. So again, if you have dispatching scenarios, it may make sense to certainly use this to see where your jobs are on a map. And I'll actually go into the form here, and we can actually see how this is going to work. So one of the built-in functions I was talking about is our location element to populate that. So what I actually have set up here is when you hit tap to start the inspection, it's going to fetch the latest location details and put them in a field. So you see it did that there. When I deselect it, it removes those. So again, this could be based upon any condition there, and you can put that dynamic value in. I do have the latitude and longitude automatically populating. This is not based on any condition. It's just when you open the form, it'll populate those details. Here's some of the built-in functions. So we have our server name, our profile ID, and our form label. These may be helpful if you're sending them to external endpoints, because right now we don't send what the form name is that it's coming from. So if you can send the form name, then your integration service down the line knows that. I see there may be a question or two, Barrett.
Ben, we're okay, actually.
Sure. Okay. And then here's some other element dynamic attributes here. So this is the 24-hour and 12-hour time setting. So for a date and time element, this is how it looks when it's set up to the 12-hour time or 24-hour time. I'm sorry. So you'll see that I'm able to, it's going to show it in 24-hour without the AM or PM. And then this one's actually set up with the AM or PM in it, right? So when I save them, you're going to see how this one looks as opposed to this one. Again, this is just the view. So when it's submitted, it's all going to be stored in as 24-hour time. So for integrators and folks analyzing it, it's easy to work on. But out in the field, there's been a request to have it show differently. So again, that can be configured based upon your needs and applied to any daytime or time element. And here I wanted to get into our lookup element. So what I've actually done here, I'll just kind of lay out the scenario, is we have a list of regions, right? A, B, C, D, and E. And based upon the region, we're going to, to filter our lookup list based upon that. So I'm going to select region A and select and look up a specific building here. My reflector is going a little slow here. I may have to restart it. Okay. So basically, once you open up the lookup element, it's going to look like this. And you can actually have up to 5 columns here. So I only have 3 because I'm building from my lowest common device, which is this Android tablet. 5 may not look good on a phone. So that's why you'd want to, if you want to use 5, you probably want to use iPads as your lowest common device that you use. And then from here, you can simply scroll through and see, this is actually region A, so it only shows site 1 to 50. And I'm actually sorting this based upon the site name in alphabetical order. So you could sort it by any of these fields here that you wish. I'm citing it by site name just so it's easy for searching. Inside of here, you can go ahead and search whatever you like here. So I'm going to search for this university here. And if I actually press this little eye icon, it's actually going to pop up those details. Some of the details here, like in this one, Plaza, is off the screen, right? So if you press the eye, it's actually going to show the full details of these 3 to possibly 5 columns that you have. And then what you can do is you can simply select this, and it's going to store the 3 columns in this field, and then it can actually look up any other details that you have. So it's going to look up the site manager and the site contact here. These are other fields that are accessible in the record, just like our current lookup today. The main difference here is that you can see multiple records and multiple columns. So if I choose region B and reopen this, you're going to see I see a very different set. I think this is site IDs 50 to 100 here. So again, very different site IDs here. So you can kind of see how you can work through this, and based on a variety of conditions, can actually set up some pretty customized workflows here. So we believe this has a lot of potential over top of the existing smart table search, mostly because it does have some smarts to it before, or it does have some smarts to it now, because you can filter it and you can sort it and things like that. So I actually wanted to go into our smart table search updates as well. I'm just going to show one here where we look up an image. So here's our smart table search. You can definitely see how it does vary. All it shows is one list of details here. So I'm going to search for an option, and when I select that, it's actually going to look up a photograph of that specific site. So again, you can start to visualize how it would be if you start looking up all different photos of things, whether it's work orders, whether it's individuals' faces, whether it's signed contracts or whatever it may be. Now this is all possible on a mobile device. So is there any questions or any other things I should go into here, Barrett?
Sure, there are a couple of questions, Ben. One is actually about creating new records. So somebody said that they're guessing that you can't create a new record from a lookup. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more and how it functions?
I'm not too sure I understand the question, but if you're creating a new record from a lookup, I mean, this behaves like a smart table search today. You actually specify a table with a list of columns and rows, and as you add new records to that, they'll appear here. So let's say I added a new site for what was this, region B, it would appear here listed the next time I do my sync there. Not sure if I answered that exactly, but it will behave in a very similar way to the smart table search today.
Perfect. I think you did, Ben. We do have some other questions coming in. One of the other questions is asking about the lookup element and when it's going to hit the iOS beta. This individual is really looking forward to using it and wants to check it out as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely. So on the iOS side, it has been available in beta for the past 2.5 weeks now, but with one caveat, it does not have the sorting or the filtering capabilities yet. We are planning on releasing that. It's actually in App Store right now for approval. So once that gets approved, we will update the release notes and tell everyone that it is available. So I'm actually going to talk about the beta program here next. But if you you're not part of it, you should certainly join it, and then you'll be able to get access to that.
Great. There's another question coming in, Ben. This individual is wondering if they can put a condition on the lookup element or smart table search where they have it set up where it doesn't upload all of the data. They only want it to select some of the data if the condition is true.
Only select some of the data. I'm not too sure I understand the question. I mean, because you can do a filter here like I'm doing here, so it basically filters out only certain information. Maybe you only want to upload, these 3 details. If you wanted to do that, you just wouldn't specify, other columns to look up, and then we'll only look up the details that you want. Maybe we can chat, after the call or sometime this week on on that use case.
Sure, I'll let them know. And I'll also find out if you actually did answer their question. The last question we have before you continue is about the photos that you're using for the smart table search. This individual is wondering if those images are stored at the client-side database.
Yes, that's correct. They are. So this will work offline, and that's one thing that we do recommend, again, as well as testing, because you are downloading these images locally to your device, so they can be used offline. But you also don't want to be uploading or putting in huge files inside of here either, since they're only going to be blown up to about this size max to view that photograph. But yes, they are downloaded locally.
And then the last question that just came in was just, is the data type still an image when they use it, when they add it?
Correct. Correct. The data type is still an image there. So you can use image or drawing. Those are the 2 that we support. We do not support signature because that would be against our current signature rules of looking up and forging a signature. But yes, image and drawings can be looked up to each other. So I know we had a question on the beta program. I did want to go over that. This is something new that we've just introduced here at the beginning of the year. We're really excited about it. It has helped on our testing side, as well as allowing people to see brand new features. So this is a mobile beta program. It's available for iOS and Android. And what this is going to let you do is, since we put our stuff in beta for 2 weeks before it's released, it's going to let you have kind of a sneak preview to these new features. As well as test your current and existing workflows, with our new build to make sure there is no issues. Especially with some of these larger changes we've been making, there's a possibility that some of your forms may behave differently, or your elements may work a tad differently. So it's something that you certainly want to check out, and make sure you can get access to it before it deploys to the entire field. By clicking on these links, you can go through and you can sign up for it. You go to the Google Play Store for Android and simply click join. For iOS, there's a link you can click that will enroll you in the beta program, and you can get updates and see when these new new builds are coming out. But we've been doing that probably for the last 5 or 6 months now, Again, the 2 weeks is really allowed folks to get a hold of these builds and put them to the test. So we do currently have our Android, the function I just showed on Android, where you can sort or filter the lookup element. That is available on the Android beta as of today. We are about to release that as well to the Play Store. But again, that's something you can go to the Play Store today and join the beta, and you'll be able to have access to that and try that new functionality out. So again, definitely we encourage folks to join the beta program so they can can get started on it. So I did want to move into some updates we've been doing on the web side of things, specifically web forms. If you're not familiar with web forms, this is something we started on in in early 2018 and delivered by the end of 2018, and it was really a big hit. It's gained a lot of adoption by our user base, and pretty much the whole concept and the whole reason why we did this is folks aren't just collecting data on their mobile devices anymore. They also have a need to collect data directly on their laptops or desktop computers. So now you can see that the same forms that we have on your iOS and Android devices, as well as are showing on the web as well. So we've added pretty much most of the same features that iOS and Android has. Just in 2019, we've done a couple items here. We've introduced a way to have faster loading speeds. So currently your mobile devices download the whole form, and then you open it up every time. On the web form, since it is web-based, we have to download the form every time as well. So what we've actually done is we cache and save that information, so the next time you load it, it can be faster and faster every time. We have introduced smart table search functionality on there. No lookup yet. That'll be coming here soon. We have introduced smart table search, and that's good to go. We added our page level reference IDs like time aware and daily submission and things like that. Those are going to be accessible to be used. We did set up our 12 and 24-hour time. So again, that is going to work the same way as it does on iOS and Android. And it is finally out of beta. I mean, we can't thank the users enough who have used this and have left us feedback. It's certainly helpful as we roll out this new product to fish out all the bugs before we remove it out of beta. I think we did that last month or so. So it's been great to see that adoption and see folks collecting data on not one, not two, but three platforms. So I just want to open up web forms if folks have not seen it, just so they can kind of see how this all looks. Well, actually, I'll start from the front here. So basically, when you're inside the admin portal, you're going to see an option under data, and you're going to see data views, which you're used to, and then you're going to see data collect. So you can hit data and collect, and this is actually going to open our new web forms interface. It's going to go to an all new screen that our new UI is going to start to be following. And I can go in here and I can open up any form I want. So I have a convenience store inspection here, and I'm just going to open this up, and you'll see how fast it loaded. That is because I had loaded this previously. So to turn on that option, you can simply hit the I here and turn on this keep data on browser, and it'll allow it to, once you download it once, it'll save that for future use. So I'll just go through this a little bit just to show you here. So here's our location element. This works in a very similar way it does on iOS, as long as your laptop has access to location or Wi-Fi. And you're going to see, here's our select elements, how they look. Our drop-down elements is the floor clean. So again, it is definitely a different view, but again, we are working on the web here. It does support subforms and all those items as well. So I'm not going to go through this too much here, but I encourage you to take your existing forms, try them out on the web forms side if you have not yet. All right. So the last piece I wanted to talk about is two big items that we did on the iFormBuilder admin portal. First is our custom Excel format. You may have seen some of the marketing content we put out on it here in the last couple of months. But really what this allows you to do is export your Excel file in a more customized format. Maybe you want to flatten the data, Maybe you want to show your sort order or your key values instead of index values on your option list. If there are custom formats or things that you want for Excel, please contact us. We can turn that on and have you downloading data in different formats instead of our standard format today. It also gets around the current restriction of size limitation. So when you try to download a table with a lot of data in it, currently that does time out. But by using the custom Excel, it is much more scalable and can download a much larger amount of data. We've also updated our Zapier integration with Zapier. This comes because we actually deprecated our 5.1 API, and now on the Zapier side of things, we had to update that since that was using 5.1. So that is currently in beta here. It should be out here shortly. You should see some marketing content about that. But if you're not familiar with Zapier, it is an integration platform that allows you to connect, iFormBuilder or a variety of other tools to each other. It's very, very easy to use. It's a great tool. Recommend you check it out if you haven't already. All right, so I wanted to transition into some of the new stuff that we're working on here, and as I mentioned earlier, we only really plan a couple months out. So the stuff you see here is certainly what we're focusing on. It is obviously subject to change based upon requirements and as new things come in. So for the rest of the year, one of the big items that we are working on now is enhancing our current user permission structure. This really is a big task for us. It's something we've had on the radar for some time now and are starting to tackle this. So currently we have a list of user roles such as form builders and admins and things like that that you can do, but we want to go more granular, meaning we want to allow people to only assign records for form A or only edit records for form B. So getting very customized there. So currently that's something that's not possible. You have to give them admin rights, and then there is obviously some security restrictions there that you want to be conscious of. So doing this will allow us to get there. This is actually going to happen in a couple different phases. So first is actually we want to move our users from our current user management system to our new system. So this is very much a migration to move everything, all the current roles that you have, all the current form assignments and things like that to the new system there. And what this will do is let you kind of get a sneak peek and start using the system, creating users from there, assigning forms from there, and things like that. And you're still going to have the same roles and things like that. Now, where all this functionality is going to actually start making its way in is in our next phase when we actually add in these additional permissions here. And again, those permissions are going to let you do a lot of granular things and even create new user roles for certain things. We even think we did have a short discussion on this, but we have folks who are in a diverse team, and there's different folks. There's an integrator, there's form builders, there's data collectors. Those would all have different roles and different permissions, which may or may not be available today. But through the additional permissions functionality we want to add, there'll kind of be a role for each of those folks, right? The data integrator could have view access to the data and be able to modify the data, but the data collector can only collect new records and things like that. It's definitely something we're putting a lot of effort into. We're going to be sharing more of those, what the screens are going to look like, what that experience is going to look like with folks over the next couple months. So certainly stay tuned to that and join the community to see what's going on there. On the mobile side of things, we're going to be working on a couple big items. As I mentioned earlier, we're working on a lot of community feature requests. One of the big things is inline editing. This has been one of the big items that folks have asked for over the years, specifically with our number and text elements. Believe it or not, a number element is the most commonly used element on average across customers. So when you currently use the number element, you have to click on the element, have to type in your number and click the check. That's 3 steps that you have to take, and if we can narrow that down to 1 step or 2 steps, that's kind of what we're working on there. So what this would allow is for the keyboard to pop up when you're inside of the form view instead of having to move to a new screen just for entering numbers. So that's one of the big things we're looking at. Our drawing element updates. There's some things that folks want to do, like pre-populate photo in the drawing element so they can annotate on top of it, and a variety of other things. If you follow those community posts, you'll be able to see kind of what the folks are asking for and follow the progress on that. We are working on some new items in terms of user interface. So we're updating our settings screen. So that's going to be something where we'll align iOS and Android so their setting screens are the same, and pull the advanced settings out of the iOS settings and put them into the app settings itself. We want to add the lookup element to iOS as well. So it is going to be released here this week, but we will have the filter and sorting that'll be in our next release coming here next month. So again, that's on the real short-term roadmap. Android needs to have image option list. That's something we are working on right now. We will be sharing some community updates on how that development is going. But you can actually put images with your select elements. So instead of a yes, no, it could be a green check mark and a red X that you can do there to kind of beautify your forms a little bit. And then we also are working on a notification center for folks to kind of keep up to date with what's going on, whether it's release notes, whether it's new features or it's bugs that we found, to get directly to the user instead of communicating through email or directly to admins. We want to be able to communicate more directly to the devices. And I think we may have one more poll here.
We actually have two more, but before we go to the poll, can you share that customer success article? Our community post?
Yep, definitely. So, yeah, so this is something we actually posted, a couple weeks ago that we're working on. We have added this on web forms. So what this is actually is at the bottom of a form, we're actually proposing adding a new button here that says done and new. So currently you just have, done, and when you hit done, it completes that record. If we have done and new, it'll work like web forms. It'll complete that record and then spin up a new record there. So we believe this is a really great enhancement. There's just a couple configuration options that we want to kind of run by folks.
All right, so
so we are working on continuing enhancing web forms. Obviously, we're going to be continuing working on bug fixes and things like that. The one big thing we are working on for web forms here by the end of the year is the new lookup element itself. So we want to bring that to web forms so it is on par across the board on there. Again, this is going to take some time, just like the iOS and Android one did, but that is the main task we have on web forms currently. We'd love to hear from you on what other things that folks want to see from the web forms. So if you have been communicating to us directly or through the community, certainly continue that. On the server side, we're also looking at introducing a new API 7.0. There's two big benefits to this one. It's going to be very, very similar to our other API. The first one, though, is it's going to have much better error message handling. So before, if you called an API request and it failed, you may get a not too clear reason on what failed. So now we're actually going to be showing you kind of what failed, why it failed, and the data you sent in that failed there. So that should be much clearer for folks that are developing integrations to see what's going on there. And then we are looking at publishing a list of status codes that have certainly meanings behind them. So currently we use a lot of standard status codes, but we do want to start publishing or returning real HTTP status codes, and then have a list of reasons for them as well. So again, look for that here. Sometime this year we are preparing to look at releasing that as well. Just in closing here, I wanted to first thank everyone for first attending, but also contributing to our community. It's super important. It's something that you may have seen as a bigger push for us in the past few years here, and we want to continue that. So in addition to being an active community member, definitely I'd encourage everyone to join the beta tester program. It's not just for testing, it is to get early access to new features. So then when they do come out, you can see how would this fit into my current workflow, or how should I change something to make it better. So definitely, if you have any trouble setting that stuff up, certainly reach out to us. And subscribing to our release notes and to our emails can kind of keep everyone up to date with what's going on, as we try to certainly be as transparent as possible with everything. So thanks again, and over to you, Barrett.
All right, so just in closing, there are some questions that I've been responding to, and I want to keep responding to those, but I do want to thank Ben for presenting today. I want to thank all of you for being active participants during today's webinar. If there's anything that you want to go into more details with, of course, please let us know. We're happy to help. We just want to thank you guys, and we'll keep this open for the time being and respond to any questions that you have. So thank you, and we'll talk soon.